The station was louder than she remembered. Voices echoed under the steel canopy, and the sharp hiss of brakes from the arriving train sliced through the humid air. People moved like waves, rushing, hugging, arguing, waiting. She didn't move. Not yet. A girl stood still near the far bench, back pressed against her suitcase, fingers curled tight around its handle. A faded hospital tag fluttered from it like a forgotten ribbon. Her other hand trembled slightly, though she tried to keep it steady. In the crowd, no one noticed her. Her eyes were fixed ahead, not at the train, but at the glass vending machine across the platform. She wasn't hungry. It wasn't about the snacks. It was the reflection. That's where she saw them, her aunt, her cousin, and their forced smiles. Their laughter pierced her from a distance, fake and polished, like they'd already moved on. Like she had never existed. A red scarf slipped from her coat pocket, caught in a gust of wind. It danced across the platform, curling in the air like smoke. She let it go. It was hers. Grandma had knitted it 3 winters ago, but she didn't chase after it. Not today. Train 117, boarding now, the speaker crackled. She didn't flinch. Her lips moved without sound. Just a whisper, to herself. They didn't even wait till the tubes were out. Her hospital bracelet still clung to her wrist, plastic and bruised. The ICU lights had burned her memory like an endless loop. Machines, pain, silence. And then, absence. When she woke up, Grandma was gone. So was her name. She blinked away the sting and let her breath shake free. Her fingers grazed the zipper of her bag, pulling it down just enough to check. Inside, a folded envelope, worn, creased, and cornered by old ink, tucked beside a copy of the original will. The real one. The one they didn't know she had. A man brushed past her, knocking into her shoulder without apology. She didn't look up. She just clutched the suitcase harder. They thought she'd die quietly. Leave no mess. No noise. But she came back. Not for revenge. For truth. A woman near her leaned down to comfort a crying child. The girl glanced at them for just a moment. Then back to the reflection. Her eyes narrowed. She saw her cousin raise a cup of coffee in celebration. She knew exactly what that smile meant. They think it's theirs now. But they didn't know what was coming. The scarf had settled near the tracks, waiting. Like memory. Like warning. The train doors slid open. And finally, she moved. The girl stepped onto the train, suitcase trailing behind her like a second spine, worn, heavy, and full of things no one else could see. The air inside the carriage was thick with warmth, a strange contrast to the coldness she carried in her chest. She found a window seat and slid into it, her knees brushing the plastic. The red scarf was gone now, but its absence tugged at her more than the wind had. She placed the suitcase beside her, fingers resting on it as if afraid it might vanish too. It was Grandma's, once. The same floral print case from when they used to visit the lake house. She'd will it behind her with both hands, giggling down gravel paths while Grandma laughed and said, "One day you'll carry bigger things than this." She didn't know how right she'd be. Outside the window, she watched families pulling into tight embraces. A man lifted his daughter with a soft laugh. A couple kissed without embarrassment. Somewhere nearby, someone popped open a can of soda. The world was spinning fine without her. Her fingers reached for her wrist again, tracing the edge of the hospital bracelet. Discharge had come with a whisper, not a goodbye. No one waiting outside. Not even a text. She had called her aunt. Once. Just once. She didn't want to burden you in your condition, her aunt had said coldly. The will was updated before the end. It's done. Lies. There was no tremble in her voice. No sorrow. Just finality. She had heard the laughter through the phone before it clicked dead. Now she sat still while the train hummed to life beneath her. A low vibration in her chest, steady like the beat of some far-off drum. Her eyes caught a man a few rows ahead. He wasn't looking directly at her, but she could feel it, the weight of his awareness. Not prying. Not threatening. Just noticing. He looked away slowly. Her stomach twisted. Was she that obvious? Could people see the hurt lodged in her like a shard of glass? She looked down at the envelope in her lap. Grandma's writing on the corner. Just her name. No one else's. Her throat tightened. She remembered sitting beside her grandmother's bed just a month before the coma. "Keep your name," Grandma had whispered, brushing her hair. "They'll try to take it from you." The train jerked forward. The suitcase shifted slightly. Her hand grabbed it fast. Then she hesitated. Not because of fear. But because she suddenly, painfully realized, this was the first time she was leaving without telling anyone where she was going. She looked out at the platform again. The man was still there. Watching. Not unkindly. Just waiting, like he knew this moment mattered more than it looked. She didn't wave. Didn't smile. She just stared back. And didn't blink. The train clattered through open land now, fields blurred into gray smears as clouds pressed low against the sky. Rain hadn't started yet, but the light had shifted, sullen, waiting. Like breath held too long. She leaned into the window, forehead nearly touching the cool glass. Her reflection stared back, pale and tired. She looked older than she was. Or maybe just more emptied. A soft shuffle across the aisle pulled her attention. The man from the platform had moved. Now he sat diagonally across from her, reading. Or pretending to. His shoes, leather, scuffed, edges worn to softness, told her he didn't travel often, but when he didn't turn back. She couldn't help it, her eyes drifted lower, where a thin wallet rested in his lap, slightly open. A photo peeked out. A boy. Smiling. Gap-toothed. Her stomach turned. She looked away fast, guilt curling in her like smoke. She hated how easily people's grief made her feel selfish for having her own. Still, her thoughts reached for him, uninvited. Who was he leaving behind? Or was he the one left behind? The first drop hit the window. Then another. Then more, fast and sudden, like a decision breaking loose. She clutched the suitcase tighter. Her fingers itched to unzip it again, to check that the papers were still there, to make sure this plan, this half-baked act of defiance, wasn't just some fever dream. She thought of her family again. Their closed faces. Her cousin's smug little laugh. The look in her aunt's eyes when she said, "You were unconscious. You don't remember things right." But she did. She remembered love. She remembered promises. She remembered being wanted. Her eyes flicked toward the man again. This time, he looked back. Not smiling. Not unfriendly either. Just, seeing her. A silence passed between them. Not awkward. Not safe. Then he spoke. Voice low, a rasp that felt like a page turning. "You're not running away." Her breath caught. She didn't reply. He nodded slightly, as if he understood the answer even in her stillness. "Sometimes," he added, eyes now returning to the photo in his wallet, "there's nowhere to run. Just something you've got to walk straight into." She looked at him, rain tracing tiny rivers down the glass beside her. It was like staring into a mirror that didn't show her face, but everything beneath it. Was this fate? Coincidence? Or a trap she was too broken to see coming? The conductor's voice announced the next stop. Her stop. But her hand didn't move. She just stared at the handle of her suitcase. And didn't let go. The rain was steady now. It clung to the windows in slow, snaking patterns, casting wavering shadows across her face. The train jolted, announcing her stop with a mechanical chime, far too cheerful for what this moment held. She stood abruptly, nearly forgetting the suitcase. Her hands fumbled with the handle, too fast, too anxious. She just needed air. Space. Something besides this heavy silence inside her that had started to throb. As she stepped into the aisle, a child across the way whispered loudly to his mother, "Why she look like she's crying?" The woman hushed him and offered a polite, apologetic smile. The girl's cheeks burned, not from shame, but from the weight of always holding it together in public. Always looking well enough. Alive enough. Like survival should be mistaken for peace. She moved toward the doors, fingers tight on the suitcase. Then she stopped. The red scarf. It was in his hands. The man from across the aisle, quiet, unreadable, held it gently, like it was something living. The scarf had dried at the corner of his seat, clinging to his coat now like a fragile memory. He rose and stepped forward slowly, offering it to her with both hands. No words. No questions. Just a look, deep, still, as if he'd been waiting all along. She didn't take it. Couldn't. Not yet. Instead, her voice cracked out, barely above a whisper, "Where'd you find it?" He didn't look away. It never left. Just drifted where it had to. That broke something in her. Not loud. Not dramatic. But quiet, like glass cracking beneath water. Her grip slipped on the suitcase, her other hand reaching, unsure whether to take the scarf or simply touch it. "Some people carry more than just bags," he said, voice softer now, eyes gentler. "They carry silence." It hung between them, his words. Heavy, aching truth. Like they weren't strangers at all, just two echoes that finally met in the noise. She finally took the scarf, her fingers brushing his. It smelled faintly of dust and lavender. Grandma's scent. Still there. She turned back toward the door, her pulse racing. The platform blurred behind the glass. Just one more step and she'd be gone. Onto the plan. The house. The war. But something inside her begged for one last look. She turned. He was still standing there, same expression, something between waiting and letting go. A couple behind him leaned in and murmured, eyeing her, judgment wrapped in curiosity. Maybe they thought she was unstable. Or just strange. Maybe she was both. She clutched the scarf to her chest. The train doors hissed open. Her foot hovered at the edge. And she didn't move. She didn't get off the train. Not because she changed her mind, because something deeper had shifted. The kind of shift you don't name yet. The kind that pulls your chest tight without warning. The scarf rested in her lap now, damp again with her own palms. She was staring at it when the man returned to his seat across from her, silent, respectful. She didn't thank him. Not because she wasn't grateful, but because she couldn't trust her voice anymore. Outside, the platform slid away. Then the silence cracked. He spoke again. "Your name." "It's Mara, isn't it?" Her breath stopped. She hadn't told him that. She turned slowly, eyes narrowing. "How do you know that?" He reached into his coat and pulled out a thin folder. It had the seal of a private firm, subtle, discreet. He offered it to her across the aisle. "I was reviewing these before the trip." "You applied for the scholarship program through the Ashgrove Foundation," he said evenly, without pride. I oversee final selections. We were going to call you next week. Mara stared at the folder like it might burn her. Ashgrove. That name had been printed at the top of every letter she mailed, every desperate form she'd filled in her hospital bed when the bills outnumbered her hours of rest. And now he was telling her, "You're him," she said, her voice brittle. He only nodded. "And you didn't say anything?" He hesitated. "You didn't look like someone who needed a reminder of what she'd already earned." That should have settled it. But something colder swept through her now. Her mind spun with questions, with paranoia. Her gaze dropped to the red scarf again, still warm from his hands. "Why did you have this?" she asked suddenly. Her voice sharpened. "Where did you really find it?" He looked down, then reached into his wallet. The photo again. The gap-toothed smile. She had the same scarf. Red. Grandma made it too. His eyes were glossy now, voice quiet. Carried it on her last trip, just before the crash. Mara froze. Her fingers clenched the scarf tighter. Time bent in the space between them. It never left. Just drifted where it had to. He wasn't just watching her. He was seeing someone else in her. Something inside Mara cracked, not like glass, but like a door unlatched. Guilt. Rage. Maybe mercy. She wasn't sure which. She stood. Slowly. Her chest rising and falling, every breath like a warning. The next stop was minutes away. The family home. Her boots hit the floor with finality. And this time, she didn't look back. She walked toward the exit. Into the storm. Into the house that should have been hers. The house stood like a wound on the hill, familiar, but colder. Ivy crawled across its white frame like time reclaiming what people tried to own. Mara stood at the gate, the red scarf looped once around her neck. The rain had quieted, but the skies still hung low, heavy with what hadn't yet fallen. She hadn't cried. Not yet. Her boots squelched against the gravel path as she approached the porch. A for sale sign leaned crooked in the yard. Fresh. Arrogant. Her cousin's silver car sat smugly in the driveway. She rang the bell. Aunt Claire opened the door, her expression dropping like glass on tile. "You shouldn't be here." Mara smiled, tired and clean. Neither should that sign. Claire's eyes narrowed, but Mara pulled the envelope from her coat, the will, real and notarized. "This was signed 3 months before I got sick. Grandma left the house to me. She told me I'd need a place no one could take." Behind her, voices rose, her cousin arguing from inside, a lawyer pacing on the phone. It didn't matter. Mara stepped inside without being invited. The air still smelled of lavender and wood polish. Her grandmother's blanket was gone from the couch. Her photo was missing from the wall. Already erased. Her hand trembled as she set the envelope down on the table. "I could fight you. I could win." Claire's face didn't soften. She just folded her arms. "Then do it." But Mara looked around, chest rising. And something in her cracked open, not from pain, but clarity. She picked up the scarf from her neck, smoothing the fabric between her fingers. Then, quietly, she draped it over the back of the chair. Grandma's favorite chair. The one they used to sit in every Sunday after baking, bare feet swinging in the sunlight. "You already lost her," Mara said softly. "This house doesn't bring her back. I don't need walls to remember her." Claire stared, confused. "So, you're leaving?" Mara nodded, not bitter. Not angry. Free. Outside, a black car waited by the curb. The man from the train leaned against the door, arms crossed, face unreadable. When she approached, he opened the passenger side without a word. "You knew I wouldn't take it," she murmured, sliding in. He looked at her. Long quiet. "I didn't choose you because of what you lost," he said. "I chose you because you reminded me of someone who fought anyway." She swallowed hard. "Your daughter?" He nodded once. Then passed her something. A folded letter. On the envelope, her name, Mara, written in a familiar, trembling hand. Her grandmother's. He hadn't just found the scarf. He'd been the one Grandma wrote to before everything fell apart. Some people carry more than just bags, they carry silence. She looked out the window. The house was behind her now. Gone. But not lost. Not every stranger you help is meant to stay, but some leave you changed forever. Mara walked alone now. No train. No suitcase. Just the rhythm of her steps and the rustle of wind weaving through tall grass. The small town faded behind her like a story retold too many times, blurry at the edges, but still pulsing in the chest. She didn't return to the house. She hadn't even looked back this morning. Instead, she followed the old path near the lake, where Grandma used to bring her as a child. The air smelled of wet soil and memory. She paused near a crumbling bench, its wood swollen from years of rain, and sat without needing permission. In her pocket was the folded letter. She hadn't opened it yet. She wasn't ready. Some truths didn't ask for eyes, only presence. Her fingers traced the creases, her breath slow, steady. In her bag, the red scarf was folded carefully, clean, dry, and still warm somehow. Not from fabric, but from meaning. She thought of burying it. She thought of leaving it here, beneath the willow tree by the water. But instead, she chose a different kind of resting place. Later, in her apartment, she placed it in the top drawer of her writing desk. No perfume. No note. Just the scarf and silence. Light from the window fell across it like memory made visible. The scholarship papers lay nearby, signed now. A different future unfolding. She whispered the words before sleep that night, as if Grandma was still near. Sometimes love is not romance, it's recognition. The man from the train had not called. And she hadn't called him either. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he shouldn't. But she'd remember the way his eyes held space for her pain without trying to erase it. That alone had shifted something in her. The kind of shift that doesn't shout. Days passed. Weeks, maybe. One morning, she caught her reflection in a cafe window, hair windblown, a coffee in hand, her posture upright. There was no visible mark of what had been taken from her. But there was something in her eyes. A steadiness. A quiet defiance that had nothing to prove anymore. She smiled, just a flicker. Not for the reflection. But for the girl who had once clutched a suitcase like armor, and now walked with both hands free. Somewhere in the drawer, the scarf remained. Waiting. Not to be worn. But to remind her of what had been survived without applause. Sometimes, the people who leave us empty are the ones who make space for something more honest to grow.